The Philippine House of Representatives calling for the suspension of SMNI's operations. A House panel on Monday adopted a resolution urging the National Telecommunications Commission to review the franchise of the controversial TV network amid alleged allegations. The lawmakers also questioned SMNI's plan to collaborate with Chinese media amid rising tensions in the West Philippine Sea.
It's very dangerous, no? Kung ang isang franchise holder ay may cooperation o collab with the Chinese government, state-owned o pag-aari ng gobyerno ng China na media network.
We're simply really urging NTC na mukhang nagkakalokohan dito kasi may mga fraudulent aspects dito. Suspindihin nyo muna habang tinitingnan natin lahat po.
SMNI has been engaged in a legal battle with the House after two of its hosts were cited in contempt last week. One of the anchors, Jeffrey Celis, earlier claimed House Speaker Martin Romualdez spent 1.8 billion pesos for his travels. The camp of Celis and Lorraine Badoy now asking the High Court to release the two from detention.
Gusto namin kasama namin yung aming mga asawa. So, hopefully pakinggan kami ng Supreme Court.
Sana po makamit namin ng justice. Mapakawalan si Ka Eric at si Ma'am Lorraine.
Philippine Senator Risa Ontiveros files a resolution for a Senate inquiry into allegations against religious leader Apollo Quiboloy and his group, the Kingdom of Jesus Christ. Ontiveros wants to probe reports of human trafficking, sexual violence, and child abuse allegedly being committed by Quiboloy's group. She underlined Quiboloy's reported demand for strict obedience from his followers through alleged brainwashing, psychological manipulation, and threat of eternal damnation. Quiboloy is on the most wanted list of the U.S. Federal Bureau of Investigation for charges of a conspiracy to engage in sex trafficking and bulk cash smuggling. The Philippine Supreme Court receives a third petition questioning how Vice President Sara Duterte spent 125 million pesos in confidential funds last year. The petition was filed by former lawmakers and the Makabayan Bloc members. They want the Supreme Court to declare as unconstitutional and void the release by President Marcos Jr. of government funds for the Vice President's confidential expenses. The petition names as respondents the Vice President, Executive Secretary Lucas Bersamin, and Budget Chief Amina Pangandaman. Two similar petitions were previously filed with the Supreme Court last month. The Philippine government's national spending plan for 2024 now up for President Ferdinand Marcos Jr.'s signature. Both the House and the Senate sticking to their earlier decision of stripping civilian agencies of secret funds. RG Cruz reports.
The Bicameral Conference Committee made about 449 billion pesos in net changes when it approved the committee report reconciling the Senate and House versions of the 5.768 trillion peso 2024 budget. Among the changes, 60 billion pesos to fund some 5,000 pesos in cash assistance to the near poor or those earning 23,000 pesos or less monthly.
More or less mga 12 million households ang target beneficiaries natin sa programang ito, to which includes construction workers, drivers, factory workers, and the likes.
Existing financial assistance programs will continue even as a housing subsidy was also included. There were no changes to the budget of the Office of the President and Office of the Vice President as approved by the House. The panel sustained the House's removal of the confidential funds of the Office of the Vice President, Department of Education, and other civilian agencies, though the Department of Information and Communication Technology got additional funds for cybersecurity. The panel also sustained the ban on the use of the contingent fund as a confidential fund. The Department of Education and the state universities and colleges got more. That includes the University of the Philippines. More funds were given to the Department of Health along with the funds to finish the building of hospitals promised by the government. Though the Department of Agriculture saw a reduction, more funds were allotted for assistance to farmers for seeds, fertilizer, and other inputs. There's also 60 billion pesos for irrigation projects and 25 billion for other crops.
We put the education, yung legacy po on the hospital, which is the specialty hospital, the legacy on food security, which is DA, under NIA irrigation. We doubled the funding. We put around almost 40 to 60 billion sa irrigation.
The Department of Public Works and Highways and Department of National Defense also got huge increases, among others.
Actually, hindi ko nga nabanggit kanina nung tinanong earlier yung mga spending priorities na nag-increase. Yung defense budget pala increased also.
While the Department of Transportation saw a significant reduction. Congressional leaders hope to have the president sign the budget before year-end. RG Cruz, ABS-CBN News.
China filing a counter-protest against the Philippines over their latest maritime encounter. Beijing claims the responsibility for what it called repeated emergencies in Scarborough Shoal lies with the Philippine side. It also insists a Philippine vessel collided with Chinese maritime police ships in a dangerous manner.
China once again urges the Philippine side to cease its violations and provocation at sea, to stop its unwarranted attacks and smears against China, and to refrain from acts that undermine peace and stability in the South China Sea. China will continue to take the necessary measures in accordance with its domestic law and international law to resolutely respond to any acts of infringement and provocation, and firmly safeguard its territorial sovereignty and maritime rights and interests.
The Philippine government has called China's actions over the weekend a serious escalation. It also summoned Chinese Ambassador Huang Xilian and flagged the possibility of expelling him. Videos released by the Philippine Coast Guard showed Chinese ships blasting water cannons at Philippine boats during the two separate resupply missions to fishermen at Scarborough and Ayungin Shoal. Both incidents have drawn international condemnation. An overreaction. That's how Atin Ito Coalition co-convener Edicio de la Torre described the shadowing of their civilian convoy to the West Philippine Sea by Chinese warships. The Christmas mission was cut short on Sunday after the convoy's mothership was shadowed by Chinese warships. Despite this, the coalition says a smaller supply boat slipped past Chinese ships and delivered donations and supplies to Lawak Island earlier Monday. De la Torre says they plan to conduct another mission early next year rather, as a post-Valentine celebration.
We anticipated, some harassment, but we didn't realize. In fact, General Browner said that the number of ships and the extent of massing up, the only explanation they could think of was that they were preparing relief for the civilian convoy. I think they were kind of taken aback. Is this another tactic of the Philippine government? No illusions that the next time will be even easier, unless they realize that there's an outrage and they realize that they might be losing the communications battle and they're looking bad. But I think the Chinese don't mind. They're just simply saying, we're big and we're strong and you better accept that fact.